And with that, I have the honor to invite our first speaker, Susan Spibey, a EFAPCO advisor on professional standards, and as well to have a special welcome for our dear guest, Katerina Drosopoulos, commercial officer from the British Embassy in Athens. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ivo. Kalimera. Good morning. That's my only word in Greek. It's a great pleasure to be with you today and in Athens for this really important point in the evolution of the events industry and the meetings business. So I have put together a presentation which I hope will reflect some of the thinking and the future strategy. And we are using this word now, event, as a holding word to describe all the activities of the meetings, exhibitions, events, from the small boardroom table to the Olympic Games. So what is an event? There was no light bulb moment, actually, because meetings, exhibitions, and events have been around a long time. And I particularly use this slide because weren't they organized 2,000 years ago, all that trade that happened around Europe without the internet, without the smartphone, and yet they did business really well. So that for me is a number one reflection. And what do we see events today as? This is an example.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise, playing in the street, gonna be a big man someday. You got mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing we will.
Before we get up and start dancing. But that's an interesting one. This is an exhibition with a difference. And I've just put a melange of meetings together, which I picked off the internet. And the burgeoning industry in the UK is now worth 50 billion to our economy, which is more than agriculture. So, having seen the selection, having seen the development, what has been way too long? Well, professional recognition. Only in the last 35 years has the meetings industry had any recognition, and the PCO acronym was developed about 40 years ago to distinguish from someone who organized a meeting on an occasional basis to someone who organized meetings on a daily basis. And so in order to actually encapsulate professional recognition, in the UK we now have some 40 universities offering degrees in event management, but with no continuing professional development and no professional recognition. We decided that it was important to have the structure of professional recognition put into a body, and the Institute of Event Management was born 2 years ago. It is still fledgling, and we are only now in the process of developing that qualification structure. And Ben's going to tell us about that in a while. So the story so far is that in the Olympic year, we got government support because an institute in the UK language is a protected word, and you can only establish an institute with government support. So we achieved that. We also were able to get it into the Britain for Events manifesto. So the Institute is in that manifesto. That was ahead of the Olympics. The legal entity status, we've got the brand registered, and we have achieved a set of national occupational standards. And this document is available for those who'd like to see. This was a document that was created with employers and practitioners together. So we decided what the skill set was that would sit across all these disciplines of meetings, exhibitions, events, and special activities. The word management is the discipline, and we say marketing are the added skills and events is the knowledge. And we only use the word events because we have no one word to describe us, like doctors, lawyers, nurses, accountants, teachers. And so we are using event management as the underpinning role for all the activities in the meetings business. So we have the government approval of those national occupational standards, and since then we've now developed a fully costed business plan and sent out invitations to fund the next steps. So what will the Institute offer? Well, professional recognition is something that we all seek to have, a badge of honour demonstrating our competence in the sector so that our clients and customers understand what we can offer. So the qualification is there to benchmark, to demonstrate competence, and it will be achieved through 3 different routes. Accreditation, if you have a degree or some other qualification that meets the standards of the Institute of Event Management, you can gain membership at a certain level because there will be steps to membership. You can do it through experiential route, so lots of people in the business do not have a degree in event management because they've only been in existence for the last 10 years, and so there's lots of people who've been in the business a lot longer than that. We want to help employers and employees alike, and so there will be lifelong learning opportunities created with mapping existing provision of training programs and looking at the gaps. So that's how it will be done. The Institute will provide a knowledge bank, resources and signposting of all the material that is out there, which there isn't a home for at the moment. And it's difficult for both our clients and ourselves, our businesses and the individuals in the businesses to actually find information. And the Institute will be the point of advice and guidance. So the home of the Institute naturally is going to be its website, and we have a fledgling site with an enquiry form, and it will inform activities and aspirations. It will link all these resources, and we have an expression of interest application on the site. We are hoping that membership will be open for business in September this year. So how are we doing it? The UK is an island, but we definitely, no matter what the media says, believe that we are in Europe and partnerships are critical. To ensure that we actually support the members of the Institute and the industry itself, we are establishing partnerships, and I describe People First is our sector skills council in the UK. We have sector skills councils, which are government-funded bodies for all disciplines, from nuclear industry to manufacturing, science, to education, and to People First covers the whole spectrum of tourism, events, passenger transport. It's all people-focused. The middle acronym is AME. AME is the Association of Event Management Educators. Because of the 40-plus universities, they have come together to share best practice, knowledge, information, and they are supporting the Institute of Event Management. And the final one is the branding for the Institute. So to introduce the other bodies, the CMI is Chartered Management Institute, so that's the home of management standards. CIPD is personnel and development, and human resources are critical to the meetings business. Purchasing and supply, procurement of major projects and meetings, big meetings, you have to go through a procurement process, and marketing. And the Chartered Institute of Marketing is one of the first partnerships that we are developing because of the importance of marketing in the corporate world. And CIPR is public relations. So all those organizations we are working with to support the development of knowledge and skills. They will have representation on the Institute board, and the members will be able to work in specialist panels to build capability. We will, of course, provide online training, and we will accredit all courses that exist which meet the standards, and that doesn't matter where they're from. You know, they can be from the other side of the world, but if they are mapped to the standards and provide knowledge and information which is appropriate, then they will be accredited. Naturally, the global networking opportunity exists. I've mentioned already several times the 40-plus universities. In those universities currently, there are 5,000 graduates each year, and 30% of those graduates are from other countries than the UK. So we already have a global network, and we're just working on where the countries are of those students that are going to graduate this year. So what are the next steps? The funding which we need to develop the qualification framework and the membership structure, the website and the marketing and promotion, that's the funding that we need immediately. And how will we get there? I'm going to ask if Ben is with us online. Ben Gittus from EOSE is working to support the development of the 7-step model across other sectors. And this is what we're going to use for the development of the Institute of Event Management. So if I can ask Ben to come in, please.
Good morning, Susan. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you. So Ben, if you'd just like to explain to people the 7-step model and where it's been applied already. And I've got with me, actually, the brochure that you've done for sport management, which actually lists those 7 steps and how the individuals have got to it. So over to you, Ben.
Thank you. Yes, my name's Ben, and I'm also on the call is my colleague, Stephen Studd.
Oh, Stephen, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
I'm not sure if we can hear him, but he is with us.
Thank you.
So we're from this organisation called EOSE, which is an organisation that has been developing professional standards and professional recognition for the sport and leisure sector for around 10 years, around the same amount of time as your organisation has existed, EVO. And EOSE is developing standards and promoting the professional recognition and quality education in the sports sector. EOSE is a European network, so we work with many organisations across Europe who are interested in developing education and employment in sport and leisure. So we have much experience of developing standards, of promoting recognition, of working with education providers, of working with employers across Europe in the sector. So we're very happy to work with the Institute and to provide that expertise and help in the new setup of the Institute. The work we do is very much in line with the European Union and the work of the European Commission in education and skills. So EOSE has many European-funded projects in education. And the methodology we promote is called the 7-step model. And it's a way to link education with the workplace to make sure that education courses are matching the labour market. This is a very important principle and something which is promoted by the European Union, and they're very happy that we promote that principle in our sector. So step one of the model is around labour market intelligence. It's collecting information about the jobs, about the organisations in the industry, and what people have to do to work in the sector. The occupational map and occupational descriptors describe the jobs even further and talk about the career routes and how to get into the industry and how to progress in the industry. The functional map and the occupational standards, which Susan has already mentioned, describe the essential skills and knowledge to be able to work in the sector. They're developed by employers, where employers define the skills and the knowledge that are needed to work in their organisations and the industry as a whole. For step 6, we then turn to the area of education, and we pass on all the information about the industry and about the jobs to the education providers. They may be suppliers or training providers or universities, and they have this information then about the sector so they can tailor their courses to cover what's needed to work in the industry. And that's where the Institute would have a guide to qualifications and learning outcomes, and it would be able to accredit and endorse courses which are useful for the industry, whether they are very short courses of training of one day through to courses of several years of a degree. The Institute can influence and endorse quality education. And that's where step 7 comes in. That's the quality assurance process, where the Institute is making sure that the courses are useful for the industry and using European approved methods of quality assuring training provision. And this is all linked to the European Union's agenda, which includes things like the European Qualifications Framework, the EQF, which is an 8-level framework of qualifications. Is that okay, Susan?
Yep, thank you. I'll now move on to the next slide, Ben, which describes the services that EOSE provides in the technical organisation of knowledge and expertise in the leisure sector, labour market and education policy, the development of tools and research methodologies to collate data and support labour market analysis, developing standards to support employers and define skills and competencies to perform in a specific job, and developing vocational education and training systems and qualifications, and the management of EU and international projects. And I've also included the feasibility study that you're doing for the EU Potential Sector Skills Council. Perhaps you'd just like to illustrate that work, Ben.
Yes, I just want to check if Stephen Studd is with us.
Hello?
Hi, Steve.
Oh, you can hear me.
I can. Susan, can you hear Susan? Can you hear Stephen?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Stephen. Thank you.
Stephen, do you want to add to anything I said or talk to this slide about the expertise and experience of EOs, particularly in some of the examples of international projects or work with the European Commission?
Yes, I think the work that EOS has done in the sports sector is very similar to the challenges that you face in the events sector. I mean, I think the first thing is to have a common understanding of what the jobs are that make up the profession that we call event management. Where are those jobs? Which organizations, which companies employ people who are involved in the industry? And building that map is something that we've undertaken in the sports sector. And an example would be in the area of fitness, where we have, on a European and now international basis, identified the jobs that exist for fitness instructors, personal trainers that work in the industry, which may have different names in different countries, but the jobs, by analysing the functions that people perform at work, you can look for commonality between different countries, between different employers for those jobs. And when you find that commonality, you can then look at the training and qualifications that people take to become competent in each country, and you can make a comparison and create a matrix between one country and the other. And that now in fitness is how the fitness sector works. You can qualify to work as a fitness instructor in one country, join a professional register in that country, and take that registration to another country. It's trusted and you can start to work there. And we see that working in a collaboration now between the UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, America. And that is really opens up a professional recognition channel and a professional development structure for people to move worldwide. And ideally, perhaps over a period of time, we'd like to be able to help the events industry to create similar sorts of structures that will help the professional recognition of the sector.
Thanks very much, Stephen. That's very helpful. And I've just put on the final slide, which actually has all the flags of the current members of the European Union, and a statement saying working together for mutual benefit and looking for ways in which we can actually develop the professional recognition, the structure for education and training that will be of benefit to all businesses in all countries of Europe. And Ben and Stephen know that we've created this event sector matrix using this word events as the holding word to describe the meetings, exhibitions, incentives, corporate hospitality and events and festivals under which the Olympic Games falls, and major global events, and the suppliers to each of those strands and who the organisers are. And I would think that this is pretty standard stuff across all the European countries. This has helped us, this is helping us to identify the structures of the meetings business within the rest of the events industry. And as far as the Institute of Event Management is concerned, we want to be as supportive and inclusive as possible in Europe, because I think that together we find strength, and I believe that we can work collectively with EFAPCO to achieve that. So thank you very much for listening, and Ben and Stephen are still on the line, and if you'd like to ask any questions while they're still on the line, we can take them now, or any comments we would be grateful for. Stunned to silence.
I'll have a question to Ben. When comparing similar projects in other fields, maybe in sports education, how long does it take and how many people have to work on a definition, on a proper professional definition in similar fields? And I'm recalling some of his projects where he was participating. If he can maybe a little bit more describe how much work it is and how those projects are continuing on the timeline.
Yes, I heard that, thank you. Where we have developed professional standards and structures in some other sectors, like the fitness sector and also the golf industry, they have been European-funded projects where in golf that was a 2-year project with 18 partners, and in fitness there was 2 projects of with a total of around 3 years. Now, of course, for professional standards, because some of the work that's taken place with People First and from the UK and other places, you would not be starting from scratch. There could be some information already to consult on. So perhaps the full time period and the full project may not be required from the starting point. It would be looking at standards and structures that exist and checking them and checking they're okay for the whole of Europe.
Yeah, so I've got the functional map with me, Ben, and when we discussed at length the key purpose, excuse me, it was agreed that the role, which you can say is a PCO role, is to create and deliver opportunities for people to participate in an event, meeting, exhibition, to meet audience and stakeholder needs to achieve economic, professional or social objectives. So that is as bland as you can make it, but actually delivers the right outcomes for the activity, i.e. the meeting, the exhibition or the event, and is underpinned by the all the activities. So we have 4 key roles, and working through those key roles are managing information and managing resources, but it's to create and manage the commercial aspects of an event, to manage the marketing, to manage the operations, and to evaluate. So that we have a framework that can be accepted or rejected, but it's there to help, and at least it's not, you know, from a without starting point. I hope that helps.
And a potential project in Europe could take the standards even further and start to work with a partnership between employers and education sector.
Yeah. Are there any more questions, comments? No? Okay. Well, thanks very much, Ben and Stephen, for joining us. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you.